Happy winter solstice to everyone. I love this day. This is probably one of my favorite days of the year. And it's the shortest day of the year if you're in the northern hemisphere, and it's the longest night of the year. And I love this day because there's so many beautiful moments of reflection. And as we're leaning into the new year, it's just a great moment to pause and reflect. So this is I Buy Myself Flowers. My name's Allison Tibbs, and I just want to create a short episode today that just speaks to some of my reflections and how I use the magic of this day. So, like I said, this is the shortest day in the year in the Northern Hemisphere and the longest night. And why I love this idea, why I love this is because as we go through the year and we're getting ready to close out 2023, there are these moments to pause and reflect. And so often we think about light and dark. And I know for a lot of people, once daylight savings happens, we start to, feel the kind of like the weight of, losing the hour and the days getting shorter and it getting darker earlier and, longer nights. And for a lot of us, it messes up how we sleep. It messes up our routines. It's harder to work out. It's harder to do the afternoon, after work activities because it's just colder and it's darker. And I often find that that's just literally nature giving us this opportunity to say, slow down. You don't have to push so much. Like it's literally giving you permission to shift how you navigate your days, your schedules, your calendars. And this year in particular, I have been really, really intentional about just paying attention to that. So I find myself going to bed a lot earlier. Sometimes I'm going to bed at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, just because I'm not turning on a lot of natural or artificial light. As the days get darker, I might light a candle or put on a lamp, but I very rarely turn like overhead lights on in my house because I like this idea of like it being darker and kind of slowing down. And winter is a time of hibernation, right? If we look around and we see the trees, most of them are bare. The leaves have fallen off during autumn and fall. And, the leaves are actually composting into the ground to nourish the soil beneath and the roots and everything to give the soil what it needs to allow flowers and trees and all the new things to bloom in spring. So this is a very important time. And a lot of times I see people during this time of year, instead of paying attention to what nature is saying, instead we push. And instead we're like, okay, I have to get this done. I have to get that done. I have to go to these holiday parties. I have to finish all these things. I have to wrap up all these emails and everything like that, which I don't necessarily know if that's the right way to go, especially if we do take a page out of nature's book that's saying, hey, slow it down. This is when animals hibernate, right? So more sleep, more resting, more relaxing. And if I think about today, where we have like the longest night, the longest time of darkness in this whole year, I use it as an opportunity to say, okay, today I'm going to keep it really slow and relaxed. And honestly, if I think about it, I'm actually not feeling that well today. So my body is kind of like, okay, yeah, you want to take it slow? Great. You're not going to do much. I'm like super cozy today and just not leaning too much into too much activity or action. So I'm kind of going within and relaxing. So I would love for you to think about over the next couple of days, even if you're not listening to this on the actual winter solstice, I think it is something to think about as you're kind of closing out 2023, of really focusing on slowing down. Because I think we think that there might be something bad about it, but honestly, I think it's a great opportunity. Also, what I like about the solstice is that tomorrow the tides kind of change and we're going to start getting longer days, which means more light is going to start coming back into our days. More light is going to start coming back into our life. I love this idea because you can't really appreciate light without darkness. And instead of making darkness bad and light good, I think they're both important and necessary. And I think there are moments where we need less levity, less light, less brightness, so we can actually kind of be in these like darker moments, because that's where character is built. That's where we learn a lot about ourselves. That's where we get humbled. That's where we experience things that maybe we thought we had worked through. There's so much growth that can happen in the dark moments. And if I look back at 2023, I will say I've had a lot of dark moments. I've had a lot of moments where it was like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't even know if I'm going to get through this. But what I do know is that I appreciate so much more those like light, bright, beautiful moments in my life because I had those dark moments. So as we think about bringing more light into our life, it's a great opportunity to reflect and take a moment. This morning I journaled, and actually I want to pull it up so I don't actually remember what the 3 prompts were, but I came up with 3 prompts to journal to. And I encourage you to do the same thing. The first prompt that I said was, what has run its course in my life? And so I started to think about some of the things that cause those like dark moments or cause the things that may have been really difficult for me. And I thought, okay, what has run its course? And of course, I came up with a list of people, situations, certain partnerships, collaborations. I thought about certain beliefs. I thought about certain things that have been holding me back, certain blocks, certain environments, certain habits. And I got really clear on what is it that no longer serves me, and like what is it that I want to like release and like leave into this year. So I journaled on that for a little bit. And then for each thing that I listed, I went back and thought, what are the lessons that I can glean from those? Like, what did I learn? What did I learn about those moments? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about the other person? What did I learn about relationships? What did I learn about business, money, self-worth, communication, collaboration? I was really clear on what is it that I learned from these things, right? Because again, in order to appreciate the light, we have to get clear on like what the darkness was and what we can learn from it. And then the third question I said was, what gratitude can I express for them? Because while they were difficult and hard in those dark moments, I am grateful that I went through some of those things. Not everything, like not everything was like, oh, I'm so glad this thing happened because of X, Y, and Z. But I can look back with gratitude of like, wow, I can see the silver lining. I can see why this had to happen. There are some things where I still don't know why it happened. And it's still really painful and it still hurts. But if I look at where I am now, like where I'm standing now, and I can look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, okay, but I'm still standing. I lived through some of my biggest nightmares, my biggest fears this year in 2023. And the fact that I can look myself in the mirror and I can find joy and I can, enjoy my life and still live my life and realize, Allison, you've survived and you've overcame 100% of your worst days, your darkest moments. That's something I can be grateful for. Doesn't mean that I like that it happened. It doesn't mean that I'm not deeply transformed or impacted by it, but it does mean that I can hold some gratitude for how I navigated through it, or what it taught me, or what it showed me, or what it cleared space for something new to come into my life. And that takes courage and it takes grace to do that. But on the flip side, as we think about this new beginning of light coming into our life, it also is a great opportunity to think about, what do I want to bring in? Now that I've kind of moved through this like darkness, what light, what brightness do I want to welcome in? And I like that space because that space feels really expansive, and it feels really creative, and it feels really wonderful and curious. And I'm like, ooh, what is it? Like what can come my way? And so I also am going to spend some time just kind of daydreaming. And right now, like the sun's out, the sun's shining, and the sun's going to set very soon, in a couple of hours. But it's taking some time just to think about what light and bright moments do I want to experience in the upcoming year? And what do I need to do to be prepared to receive those moments and those things? And how will I, put myself in position? Like what habits, what activities, what things do I need to do to make sure that I'm ready to receive those beautiful, bright moments? So just something that I wanted to share because I thought it was just really important and just like a really powerful and one of my favorite days. And even if you don't really like, want to go so deep, I think just take some time today and just think about the day and just think about the year. And, you don't have to put like hard, you know, like goals or intentions. Like, don't be so specific right now. Like, it's still early. We still got some time in this year, especially if you're listening to this, today or listening to it in December. But at least you're just preparing yourself to walk into 2024 with just a lot more clarity and a lot more just groundedness around who you are, where you've been, what you want, and who you want to become. This is a beautiful day to reflect on that. Also, if you want to kind of go a little bit deeper into some of these questions, or just if you're in a space of reviewing your year, I do have my year in review. It's a workbook that I created that I think would be really awesome to go through. It's about couple of pages, and it's some questions that I've been using on myself and with private clients. But I recently just did a workshop on this with the members of the Nourished group coaching cohort that kicks off in January. We have some pre-workshops since we actually went through some visualization exercises and some other interactive exercises to prepare to do this workbook. So if you're interested in the workbook, I will make sure you can get the link to that. If you're interested in getting the recording of the workshop and getting those exercises, well, then also I'll put a link to become a part of the Nourished community, which that's where the recording and the additional exercises lives. And if you want even more support, in January the 3rd, I will be doing a New Year Nourished Me workshop that's going to be exclusively for the Nourished members, but there'll also be recording available as well. And then we'll be diving into more of like visioning, goal setting, really getting ourselves prepared to set these goals and intentions that really light us up, that we're excited to pursue. And then there'll be another workbook that you can work through and go through that process too. So if you're interested in that, there'll be information that will be attached in the show notes. If you're listening to this as a podcast, or if you're watching this, you'll also get access to that as well. But ultimately, this is a beautiful, beautiful day. And I hope that you use it, and it's a beautiful day for you to explore and experience. And I would love to hear how you took some of these questions or reflections. So feel free to share them with me as we lean into the closing of kind of one season and we step into this new season. So again, I'm Allison Tibbs, and thanks so much for listening.